over bridge of sights to rest my eyes in shades of green.
Steve Marriott, the legendary frontman of the Small Faces, left behind more than just timeless music. After his tragic death, fans were surprised to discover an abandoned house, 2 wives, and 4 children tied to his legacy. With a modest net worth, which he left behind, questions still surround what truly happened. Join us as we uncover the full story. Abandoned house. In the peaceful village of Arkeston, Essex, there was a lovely cottage from the 16th century that used to be owned by Steve Marriott, the famous lead singer of Small Faces and Humble Pie. This cottage, with its traditional thatched roof and white walls, was not just a house, but a representation of Marriott's life, which included music, reminiscences, and sadness in the end. During the peak of his popularity, Marriott bought the cottage to escape the busy music industry. The house had traditional English elements like wooden beams, leaded glass windows, and a warm fireplace in the living room. It was set in beautiful gardens, creating a peaceful space for writing music and thinking. Over time, as he faced problems in his career, the cottage served as a representation of his withdrawal from the public eye. Due to money issues and personal battles, the cottage started to deteriorate. The garden, once full of life, became overgrown, and the paint on the walls started to chip away, reflecting the decline in Marriott's life. Although in poor condition, the cottage continued to be a popular destination for fans and other musicians. The building was filled with tales of spontaneous music sessions and deep discussions. It served as a reminder of Marriott's lasting impact and the significant legacy he had in the rock music industry. Unfortunately, on April 20, 1991, a fire broke out in the cottage and Marriott died. It is believed that a cigarette, possibly lit while he was getting into bed, caused the fire. The tragedy not only resulted in the loss of a home, but also of a beloved musician whose music had touched many people. What became of Steve Marriott's wives after his death? How did his relationships with them begin? And what caused their eventual separations? Steve Marriott's wives. Steve Marriott was in 3 significant relationships that impacted various aspects of his life. Each of his marriages symbolized the transformations he was experiencing in his personal and professional life. In 1968, Steve got married to Jenny Rylance, who was a beautiful model. Their wedding was a special moment amidst his rising fame. However, fame brought along stress and pressure. The demands of touring, recording, and public appearances started affecting their marriage. Steve also began to struggle with substance abuse, which put a strain on their relationship. Despite their love for each other, it wasn't enough to save their marriage. They eventually divorced by 1973. Nevertheless, Steve never fully let go of his feelings for Jenny. He expressed his emotions in a song titled "A Song for Jenny," which was included in Humble Pie's album Rock On in 1971. The song was a subtle tribute to the lasting impact Jenny had on his heart. A couple of years later, Steve encountered Pam Stevens, who was an American flight attendant. They started dating in 1975 and welcomed a son named Toby in 1976. They eventually tied the knot and spent many years together until the early 1980s. Pam and Toby brought stability to Steve's life. Despite ongoing challenges with fame, having a family motivated him to strive for improvement. Steve married Toni Polton in July 1989, only 2 years before he unexpectedly passed away in April 1991. Even though their time as husband and wife was brief, Toni stood by his side until the end, providing him with love and comfort. Over the years, Steve had been in other romantic relationships. One of them was with his longtime friend Manon Piercy, with whom he had a daughter named Molly. Another relationship was with Terry Elias from Canada, who bore his daughter Tanya. These relationships illustrate the mix of connection and complexity in Steve's personal life. What was Steve Marriott's relationship with his children like, and what were the mysteries or controversies surrounding their births? The 4 children of Steve Marriott. Steve Marriott may have died young, but he left a lasting legacy through his children. They each have inherited some of his traits, such as creativity, spirit, and in some cases even his voice. His daughter, Leslie, was born in 1966, prior to his fame. Her mother, Sally Folger, was a young woman who named her Sarah Lisa Folger. Leslie was adopted shortly after she was born and was unaware of her biological father for many years. As an adult, she discovered her heritage and made contact. Steve's other children embraced her. Nowadays, Leslie is a member of the extended Marriott family. Steve's son, Toby Marriott, was born in 1976 to Pam Stevens. From a young age, Toby showed signs of following in his father's footsteps. He even sang backup on his dad's solo song Toe Rag when he was just a toddler. As he grew up, Toby became a musician himself, leading bands like the Strays and Black Drummer. Although his music has a different style from his father's, the same energy and passion can be sensed in every song. Toby has often talked about the pressure and pride of having Steve Marriott as a father, and he continues to honor that legacy through his music. In 1984, Steve had a second daughter named Tanya with a woman named Terry Elias from Canada. Tanya has kept a low profile, and not many details are known about her because she prefers to stay out of the public eye. Despite being private, she is still an important part of Steve's family. Molly Mae Marriott, who was born in 1985 to Manon Piercy, is known for her musical talent and may be the most famous of Steve's children in terms of music. She showed an interest in singing from a young age, and her voice, which is both soulful and strong, reminds listeners of her father's unique sound. Molly has established herself in the music industry by releasing her first album, Truth is a Wolf, and collaborating with several well-known artists. She was also involved in the stage production All or Nothing, which narrated the story of the Small Faces. In this project, she worked as a vocal coach and creative consultant to ensure that her father's legacy was honored and respected. Even though Steve's family life was not always stable, his children stay connected through love, memories, and music. Some of them were raised by him, while others formed a relationship with him later on. But each child carries a part of him with them wherever they go. Despite all the fame Steve Marriott achieved, it couldn't protect him from the tragic end he met. The tragic death of Steve Marriott. On the night of April 19, 1991, Steve Marriott came back to the United Kingdom after what was thought to be a promising trip. He had recently finished recording songs in the United States with his ex-bandmate Peter Frampton and had been preparing for a comeback that was hoped to revive his talent. However, his hopes were crushed when he tragically passed away shortly after returning to Britain. Upon arriving in the UK, Marriott and his partner, Tony Poulton, were greeted by a friend. People close to Marriott mentioned that he was in a sour mood and had been drinking a lot during the flight. The tension between him and Poulton escalated, resulting in frequent arguments. The three of them decided to have dinner at one of Marriott's beloved restaurants, the Straw Hat in Sawbridgeworth. Marriott continued to drink at the restaurant. Despite the ongoing tension between the couple, they opted to spend the night at their friend's house because it was already late. The argument between Marriott and Poulton kept going even after they went to bed. Poulton eventually fell asleep. When she woke up later, she realized Marriott was gone. She did not know that he had quietly left the house during the night and taken a taxi to his home in a nearby quiet village called Arkeston. Early the following morning, at approximately 6:30 a.m. on April 20th, a driver passing through Arkeston saw a lot of smoke and fire coming from the roof of Marriott's cottage. The driver promptly alerted the fire department. The fire was so severe that 4 or 5 fire trucks were dispatched to the location. Firefighters faced challenges as they tried to extinguish the flames and make their way to the upper level where the heat was intense. Upon reaching the bedroom, they cautiously felt their way around the walls in the dense smoke, searching for any potential survivors. They found something very sad. Marriott's body was found lying between the bed and the wall. Investigators thought he was sleeping in bed when the fire started, and only woke up after it was too late. Confused and probably weakened by smoke, it seemed like he tried to escape, but went in the wrong direction. Instead of going towards the bedroom door, he turned left, away from safety. He collapsed before he could fix his error. Investigators believe the fire started because Marriott was smoking a cigarette. They think Marriott came home tired and possibly drunk or high, lit a cigarette in bed, and then fell asleep. The cigarette caused the bedding to catch fire, and it spread rapidly. The room was filled with dangerous smoke before the fire even reached Marriott, which made it hard for him to think straight or escape. The report from the coroner confirmed that Marriott passed away due to breathing in smoke. Tests showed that his blood had alcohol and illegal substances he used to relax during the flight. The official ruling from the investigation was accidental death. The sudden death of Marriott shocked his fans and the music industry. He was known for his incredible talent and energetic performances. Many people were saddened by his tragic death, especially considering the highs and lows he had faced in life. Despite his struggles, there was still hope that he would make a comeback and shine once again. On April 30, 1991, Marriott was buried at the Harlow Crematorium. Many people who knew and admired him attended his funeral, including Kenny Jones from the Small Faces and Peter Frampton, his friend and musical partner. Other attendees included Joe Brown, P. Arnold, Terrence Stamp, Jerry Shirley, and Greg Ridley. David Gilmour from Pink Floyd and Rod Stewart, along with Stewart's ex-wife Rachel Hunter, sent flowers. However, Ian McLagan and Ronnie Lane, his former bandmates from the Small Faces, did not publicly acknowledge or attend the funeral. As the coffin was brought in, the song All or Nothing by the Small Faces was playing in the background. This song was fitting because it reflected Marriott's life. He lived with passion and emotion, never holding back. Many people close to him had a hard time dealing with his death in the days and weeks after. They knew he had problems with substance dependence and sometimes acted out, but they never thought his life would end so tragically. His house ended up being where he died, and the fire that ended him seemed to symbolize the intense struggles he faced in his life. Despite the sad event, a lot of people remembered him for the happiness and motivation he brought through his music, rather than how he passed away. He put a lot of emotion into his performances, and his songs still move people even after he's gone. His colleagues always knew he had something unique and powerful about him. His voice was powerful, his soul passionate, and his spirit unforgettable. Why was Steve Marriott's net worth so modest? What happened to his fortune after his death? And what did he leave behind? Net worth left behind. Steve Marriott, the famous singer from Small Faces and Humble Pie, made a big impact on rock music. But despite his immense talent, he did not have much money. This shows that he had financial problems because of bad money management, illegal substance use, and legal issues. Marriott faced financial troubles because of his lavish spending and poor handling of his money. Even though Humble Pie had a successful goodbye tour, the profits disappeared fast, leaving him in a difficult financial situation. He was so desperate that he resorted to stealing vegetables from a nearby field. In 1978, Marriott was told by the Inland Revenue that he owed £100,000 in taxes from his past days in the band Humble Pie. He thought his manager had taken care of all tax matters, so this news was a big shock. To avoid going to jail, he sold his house in Golders Green and relocated to California. In California, he started a new band called The Firm, but disagreements over money and problems with visas caused the band to break up. Marriott ended up with no money, gathering empty bottles to get some change. When Marriott died, he did not leave a will. As a result, his third wife, Toni Marriott, inherited his estate, leaving his children with no inheritance and causing family conflicts. Toni's choices after that, like releasing AI-generated versions of Marriott's voice, have faced objections from his children and former bandmates. Marriott's music legacy is still doing well, even though there have been obstacles. His estate continues to make money from re-releases, compilations, and covers released after his death. However, the mystery doesn't end there. There are still lingering questions about how Steve Marriott earned his wealth and how he lost it. Keep watching to find out more. A star in the making. Steve Marriott was born in East Ham, London on January 30, 1947, arriving 3 weeks sooner than expected and weighing only 4 pounds, 4 ounces. Due to his jaundice, he remained in the hospital for 4 weeks before being able to leave. Steve was raised by his parents Kay and Bill Marriott in Manor Park on Strone Road. Steve's parents had humble beginnings in the working class, leading lives marked by hard work and dedication. His father, Bill, had different jobs throughout his life. He began his career as a printer, but later gained recognition in the community for his food stall named Bill's Eels outside the Ruskin Arms Hotel. Along with selling eels, he also sold traditional pie and mash. Steve's mother, Kay, was employed at the Tate and Lyle factory in Silvertown, which helped support the family. Music has always been important to Steve. His dad played piano at pubs and supported Steve's love for music. Steve was given a ukulele and harmonica by his dad, and he easily learned to play them. He started singing and performing wherever he could. Steve would play music at bus stops to make some money, and even competed in talent shows while on family vacations to Jaywick near Clacton-on-Sea. When Steve was only 12 years old, he formed his first band with his school buddies. They originally named themselves The Wheels, but later changed it to the Coronation Kids, and finally settled on the Mississippi Five. As the band evolved, new members joined, and their music became more powerful. Steve was a big fan of Buddy Holly and even dressed like him, sporting large glasses without lenses. He wrote his first song, Shelia My Dear, for his beloved Aunt Shelia. His pals were so amazed by the song's style that they began to refer to him as Buddy. The band performed at small coffee shops and also did morning shows at Isolde Cinema in Manor Park. Steve was very energetic and liked to play tricks on people in the area. His mother described him as lively and always busy doing something. While he was at Sandringham Secondary Modern School, he got in trouble for allegedly setting a fire in a classroom, but he maintained his innocence. In 1960, Steve's father saw an advertisement in the newspaper looking for a new Artful Dodger for the popular musical Oliver, which is based on a well-known Charles Dickens novel. Steve's father, Bill, applied for the role without telling Steve. Steve auditioned for the role and impressed the producers by singing 2 songs, one by Connie Francis and another by Buddy Holly. He ended up getting the part and spent a year in the show, playing multiple roles and earning £8 a week. He also recorded the lead vocals for some of the songs in the show at the famous Abbey Road studios. In 1961, Steve got into the Italia Conti Academy of Theatre Arts in London, which led to many opportunities. Since his parents couldn't pay for the tuition, the school allowed him to use money from acting gigs. Steve started getting steady jobs in movies, radio, and TV. He gained recognition for portraying energetic Cockney characters and starred with Peter Sellers in Heavens Above. Steve also had parts in musicals like Live It Up, where he played a drummer. Steve's true passion was always music, not acting. He expressed his desire to leave acting and pursue a career in singing to his family, which deeply upset them and led to conflicts at home. Steve even temporarily moved out to live with friends, but he remained determined to follow his dreams. In 1963, he wrote a song named Imaginary Love and tried to sell it in London. This led to a solo contract with Decca Records, but his first single did not do well. That same year, he formed a new band called The Frantics. They made a recording of Move It with former Shadows drummer Tony Meehan, but it never got released. The band changed its name again to The Moments, or sometimes Marriott and His Moments. They performed with popular bands like The Animals and Georgie Fame at venues like the 100 Club and Crawdaddy Club, and even gained their fans and published a newsletter. In 1964, The Moments performed 80 concerts and made a recording of "You Really Got Me" for release in the United States. However, the song did not sell well, and the band decided to part ways with Steve, believing he was too young to be the lead singer. Steve then attempted to join another band, but was rejected because they were aware he would want to be the main vocalist. Steve did not let the setbacks stop him. He kept going. Before becoming famous with the Small Faces, he was briefly in another band called the Checkpoints. Steve Marriott, rock's unforgettable rebel. Steve Marriott had a musical journey filled with talent, passion for music, and emotional performances. He started in the 1960s and continued until the early 1990s, giving his all in every song he sang and every guitar chord he strummed. Throughout his career, he experienced exciting changes, played in strong bands, and remained dedicated to his unique sound, even when faced with challenges in the music industry. His story resonated with many people, and the impact he made continues to motivate others. In 1965, Steve Marriott helped start a band called Small Faces. This marked the beginning of something special. The group, consisting of Steve, Ronnie Lane, Kenny Jones, and later Ian McLagan, quickly gained popularity in Britain. Their songs were lively and blended soul and rock rhythms, making them unique. Tracks like All or Nothing, Itchy Coo Park, and Lazy Sunday won over fans and built a loyal following. Their 1968 album Ogden's Nut Gone Flake showcased their willingness to experiment with sound and storytelling. However, as Steve's fame as a teen idol grew, he wanted to pursue more serious and soulful music. In 1969, he made the bold choice to leave the band. Shortly after, he created a band called Humble Pie, along with Peter Frampton, Greg Ridley, and Jerry Shirley. This group had a rougher, more intense sound, blending blues, hard rock, and soul in a genuine way. Hits like 30 Days in the Hole and I Don't Need No Doctor were well loved. Their live performances were energetic, and their acclaimed album, Performance, Rockin' the Fillmore, showcased their incredible stage charisma. After Frampton departed in 1971, the band continued, but eventually disbanded in 1975. Afterward, Steve attempted to make a name for himself as a solo musician. In 1976, he put out an album with his name on it and experimented with different styles. He also reunited with the original members of Small Faces during this period. They made new music together, but they struggled to recapture the magic that made them famous in the 1960s. The reunion came to an end by 1978. In 1980, Steve attempted to revive Humble Pie with a new lineup. They went on tour and put out an album called On to Victory. Unfortunately, their efforts were short-lived, and they split up in 1981. During that time, Steve teamed up with Ronnie Lane to form Magic Midgets. Despite their unique music, the project did not gain much recognition. The album wasn't released until 2000, almost 20 years later. Steve continued to perform despite changes in the music industry. In the 1980s, he started a band called Packet of Three, playing bluesy rock in smaller venues. Though the crowds were small, the shows were full of passion. Steve's performances in this period showcased his enduring talent on vocals and guitar. Over time, Steve grew increasingly frustrated with the music industry's emphasis on profit and appearance. He declined offers and shied away from public attention, preferring to perform in small, personal venues. Fame was no longer his priority. He simply wanted to make music. In 1988, he created a new band called the DTs and went on a tour. The live shows were recorded, showcasing Steve going back to his love for blues music, which brought him the most joy. His passion for blues and rock music remained strong. In 1990, Peter Frampton, a former bandmate, contacted Steve Marriott to discuss working together again. They started creating new music and discussing a potential comeback for Humble Pie. There was some hope for a fresh start, but unfortunately, the project fell through as Steve returned to England before it could be completed. Steve Marriott died in 1991 at a young age. However, his legacy still shines brightly. His singing, songs, and dedication to authentic music still resonate with people today. What struggles came with Steve Marriott's rise to fame, and how did he manage to deal with them? The high cost of stardom. The music industry during the 1970s and 1980s had its pros and cons. It provided fame and wealth, but also came with a lot of stress, money problems, and the temptation of illegal substances. Even talented and successful artists struggled with issues that put their careers and lives at risk. One artist who struggled with substance dependence was Waylon Jennings, a well-known figure in country music. He started using amphetamines in the mid-1960s, and this habit grew worse over time. By the early 1980s, his dependence on illegal substances had become severe, causing him financial problems. Jennings was said to be spending as much as $1,500 per day on illegal substances, resulting in debts of $2.5 million. Despite these difficulties, he was able to conquer his substance dependence in 1984, driven by his goal of being a better father to his son, Shooter. Similarly, Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones also had struggles. He was known for his rebellious image and got arrested many times for illegal substance-related crimes in the late 1960s and 1970s. In 1977, he was caught with illegal substances in Canada, but did not end up in prison for long. This incident showed how serious his substance dependence was. Richards later confessed that his public image played a part in his illegal substance problems and made it hard for people to see the real him. Another frequent problem was financial irresponsibility. In the 1970s, musician Frank Zappa had disagreements with his manager, Herb Cohen. Cohen took one of Zappa's royalty checks without permission, resulting in a lawsuit. The legal fights stopped Zappa from using his old recordings, which hurt his ability to create music. Keith Moon, the drummer of The Who, was famous for being destructive. He drank a lot and used illegal substances, which caused him to lose a lot of money. He would destroy hotel rooms and spend a lot of money recklessly, which put the band in debt in the 1960s. Despite eventually becoming financially stable, Moon still owed a lot of money, which meant he only earned about £47.35 from tours. Little Richard, one of the first rock and roll stars, faced challenges during this time. He chose not to use illegal substances at first, but eventually started in the mid-1960s. In the 1970s, he became addicted to illegal substances and PCP, spending a lot of money each day on illegal substances. His substance dependencies caused problems with his money and relationships, and eventually led to a nearly deadly overdose in 1977. Legacy. Exactly 10 years after Steve Marriott passed away, a tribute concert was held in London on April 20, 2001. The event was emotional and filled with memories, honoring the musical legacy of Marriott, who greatly influenced the rock genre through his work with Small Faces and Humble Pie. Each song performed that night was from the repertoires of these two bands, reviving Marriott's music and paying tribute to his impact on the world of rock music. This special event brought together members of the band Humble Pie and the Small Faces for a rare reunion. Notable musicians such as Peter Frampton, Clem Clemson, Greg Ridley, Jerry Shirley, Kenny Jones, and Ian McLagan performed for fans, creating a nostalgic night. Other artists who had played with Steve Marriott in later years also joined the show. The concert featured musical guests like Paul Weller, Noel Gallagher, Alan White, Jem Archer, Midge Ure, Zach Starkey, Rabbit Bundrick, Steve Ellis, and Tony Rivers. The entire 2.5-hour show was recorded and later released on DVD as the Steve Marriott Astoria Memorial Concert. All proceeds from the event went to the Small Faces Charitable Trust, founded by Kenny Jones in honor of Steve Marriott and Ronnie Lane. Years later, in September 2007, a new tribute was given. A special plaque was revealed on Carnaby Street in London, where Don Arden's offices used to be. This street was a key place for the band during the 1960s. The plaque recognized Marriott, the Small Faces band members, and Arden for their important role in British rock history. Even after he died, Marriott's impact continues to be felt. His songs have appeared in the Grand Theft Auto games, exposing his music to younger audiences. In May 2024, it was reported that Cleopatra Records was considering putting out AI-generated versions of Marriott's voice. This plan faced opposition from his family, former bandmates, and fellow musicians. Although the estate admitted discussions had occurred, they emphasized that no definite decisions had been made. Steve Marriott's story remains a source of inspiration for many. Fans, family, and friends keep his music, voice, and memory alive in their hearts. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.